The first thing the ranger asked me after I stopped shaking was, "Why did you step toward the bear?" He said it soft, like he already knew the answer, but he wanted to hear if I knew it too. That is the part people always get stuck on when I tell this story. Not the spray, not the satellite SOS, not the rescue. They get stuck on that one moment when I took a step toward a black bear that was deciding if I was food. This happened in British Columbia on the Elfin Lakes trail in Garibaldi Provincial Park above the town of Squamish. Late September. Gray sky, low clouds, about 8 degrees Celsius. Light rain that never really stopped. Wind coming in from the south, steady enough that you felt it on your cheeks. Visibility was good at first, then turned tricky when the mist thickened and wrapped the trees. It was a normal day out, at least that was the idea. A simple out and back to the lakes. My friend Luke and I both live in Vancouver. We hike most weekends. We read the signs. We watch the bear safety videos. We are not idiots. And still, I almost made one decision that would have got both of us badly hurt or worse. The part that bothers me is that it was the choice that felt safe in the moment, the one most people would make. I will come back to that. That morning, the parking lot at the Elfin Lakes trailhead was quiet. A few trucks, one noisy group starting before us. Clouds hung low over the North Shore Mountains behind us, and the alpine above was hidden, like the whole top half of the world had been erased. We were late, of course. By the time we locked the car and shouldered our packs, it was almost 11. Luke shook his head and laughed. "We'll be fine," he said. "We hike faster than the signs think." I checked the board by the trail. Bears active, carry spray, travel in groups, make noise, store food properly. Same warnings as always, but there was fresh handwritten chalk under the printed notice. Multiple black bears seen near red heather, feeding on berries, stay on trail. I read it twice and felt that small pinch in my gut that you get right before you ignore your own common sense. "We've seen black bears before," Luke said. "They bolt if you look at them." He said it like he was trying to calm me down, but I realized later he was calming himself too. We both had bear spray. That was the good part. The bad part was where we kept it. Luke clipped his to the waist belt of his pack. Easy draw. I shoved mine into the front pocket of my running vest, under my phone and a bag of trail mix, because it was more comfortable that way. I told myself I could reach it fast enough. I also slipped my earbuds into the top pocket of the vest, just in case. That is how these days begin. Not with huge mistakes, with little comforts. The first hour of the trail is mostly forest, second-growth trees, a soft, wide path, roots like dark ribs across the soil. The air smelled like wet earth and cedar. We fell into an easy pace, talking about work, trip ideas, everything except the chalk note on the board. We heard a woodpecker, a creak far below us, the distant echo of someone else's voice on the switchbacks. No bears. If you had stopped me then and said, "Today you will stand 30 feet from a black bear that thinks you might be food," I would have laughed. We started seeing sign about 40 minutes in. First, it was just turned over logs by the side of the trail. The rotten wood had been ripped apart into big, flat pieces, exposing white grubs and ants. Luke pointed with his tracking pole. "Bear buffet," he said. I looked closer and saw something that did not match the rot. A print in the soft dirt. Rounded toes. No claw marks I could see clearly, but the shape was wrong for a dog. Bigger. Wider. I stood there, letting the picture settle in my head. The track was not sharp-edged. It was softened by mist and small crumbles of dirt. "Maybe a few hours old," Luke said. "We're in their house." He stepped over the track and kept going. I followed, but I started talking louder. We both did. You tell yourself you are warning the bear. Part of you is also trying to chase away your own unease. As we climbed, the forest changed. The trees thinned. More light. Shrubs heavy with blueberries on both sides of the trail, the kind of slope a black bear dreams about in the fall. I could feel the temperature drop a bit as we gained elevation. The air cooled on my forearms where my sleeves were pushed up. The wind brushed from left to right across our path, coming downhill. That wind would matter later. Red Heather Shelter appeared out of the mist like a low, dark box. There were a couple of bikes leaned against the wall, but no people. We dropped our packs on the picnic table. Both of us were a little sweaty from the climb. We opened jackets, spread out snacks. I remember thinking, we should not linger. Look at all these berries. Look at all this sign. There was fresh scat 10 steps from the shelter. Purple, wet, full of berry skins. Steam did not rise from it in the cold air, but it looked fresh enough that I did not want to be the one to test it. "We're fine," Luke said when he saw my face. "They have all this food. They're not interested in us." He was not wrong in a general way. Bears are busy in fall. They are focused on filling their stomachs. They are not hunting humans. Until they are. We stayed longer than we should have. I ate trail mix and shoved the empty bag into the front pocket of my vest. Salty, sweet smell. Peanuts. Chocolate. I did not double bag it. I did not tuck it deeper into my pack. It was right there, near my chest, where my body heat could spread the scent. When we left, I did a quick look around the table. Phone, jacket, poles. Good. I never checked for Luke's spray. He had taken it off his belt and set it next to his pack. When he lifted the pack and swung it on, the spray stayed on the bench, hidden in the shadow of his jacket. I saw the shape later in a photo from that stop, and my stomach turned. We hiked on into thicker mist. The trail after Red Heather trends up and then rolls, sometimes in forest, sometimes in open heather. On a clear day, you get big views. That day, visibility shrank to maybe 30-40 meters, just enough to see the next bend, not enough to see what might be moving toward you beyond it. The wind stayed with us, always sliding across from our left. I could feel it on the warm side of my face. We were walking almost straight into it at an angle. We talked less now, partly breath, partly the way the mist ate our words. You speak and the sound feels smaller, like it never leaves your own bubble of air. A group passed us coming down, 3 people, hoods up, moving fast. "See anything?" Luke asked. "Quiet up there," one guy said. "Saw a bear way down near the lot this morning, but nothing now." He kept walking. I should have asked more questions. What kind of bear? Where exactly? What it was doing? Instead, I nodded and let them go. The trail started to get messy underfoot. Old snow patches lingered in shaded spots. Mud pooled in the low spots. Wooden boardwalk sections, slick with moisture, bridged the worst. We stepped carefully. It happened so fast. All the boring parts of a day in the mountains build up, and then one small slip cracks the whole plan. On a muddy step, Luke's boot slid sideways. His ankle rolled. He caught himself on his poles, but not before I heard a sharp sound from his throat. Not a yell, just that strangled you make when you are not sure how bad it is yet. "You good?" I asked. He stood still, weight on his other leg, face tight. "Give me a second." When he tried to step again, his ankle buckled. He grabbed my shoulder to steady himself. "Twisted," he said. "I think I can walk it off." He could, but not at our original pace. Each step after that was careful. No more quick hopping across roots, no easy stride on flat parts. And time did what time always does. It moved. The mist thickened. The light shifted in a way that told my body, even without a watch, that afternoon was turning toward evening. "Maybe we turn around," I said. "We can come back next weekend earlier." Luke looked up into the gray, toward where the lakes were hidden. "We are not that far," he said. "But if we turn now, we at least need to keep moving. I do not want to be out here after dark." We both agreed on that part. We turned back. That choice was actually the smart one. The problem was that we made it 30 minutes later than we should have. We had already walked deeper into a slope covered in berries, with poor visibility on a day when bears needed calories more than anything. On the way back, the trail felt different. It is strange how that happens. Same dirt, same roots, different direction and different mind. I noticed things I had walked past on the way up. A tree with deep scratch marks raked down the bark, higher than any person could reach. Large stones flipped, fresh earth damp and dark beneath them. More scat, some older, some newer, most of it full of berries. We were in the middle of a restaurant. We made a point of talking again. We even sang for a while, badly. But the mist soaked up our noise. Sound did not carry far. We were maybe 20 minutes past Red Heather on the return when I felt the first real chill that was not from the air. It started as a smell. Not rotten, not full-on carcass, just a strong animal smell on top of wet plants and dirt, like a big dog that has been out in the rain. It came and went with the wind. "Do you smell that?" I asked. Luke sniffed and shrugged. "Probably a wet hiker," he said. We were the only people on that stretch. A few minutes later, we saw the tracks. This time, there was no doubt. In a muddy patch on the trail, clear, fresh prints, front and back feet, rounded toes, claw marks visible. It crossed the trail from right to left, coming up from below and going into thicker brush above us. The edges were crisp, not worn at all. "Could have been that group that passed us," Luke said. I shook my head. "Their boots did not look like that," I said, but I knew he knew that. He just did not want to say the other thing. The prints were on top of some of our own boot marks from earlier that day. Whatever had made them had walked right over our path after we passed. The bear had been here while we were up at the lakes, or on the way down, somewhere close in time. "Okay," Luke said, more noise. We started talking again, very loud now, almost shouting. "Hey bear," he called. "Hey bear, coming through." It felt strange and a little silly. You feel like you are overreacting. You do it anyway. 5 minutes later, we saw it. The trail dropped slightly and bent through a patch of smaller trees. Visibility opened up. Maybe 50 meters ahead, a black shape crossed the path. Low, big, smooth. My brain did what brains do. It tried to file it under anything but what it was. Dog. No. Too big. Wrong shape. Person in dark clothes. No. Wrong gait. Then the shape turned its head, and I saw the profile. Rounded ears. Longer muzzle. Thick neck. Black bear. It did not look at us. It stepped off the trail and vanished into the brush on the uphill side, silent. In that way a big animal can choose to be. We stopped walking. Luke let out a long breath. "There it is," he said quietly. "We saw it. Good. It knows we're here." The bear had moved across the wind, from our right to left, wind still coming at us from the left, so when it crossed, it probably got a noseful of us. "Should we wait?" I asked. "Give it time to move away?" He thought for a second. "I think we keep going," he said. "Talk loud, stay together. It is probably more scared of us than we are of it." That line. You hear it so much you start to treat it like a spell. We walked on. I made myself breathe slow. I told myself that we had done everything right. We were together. We had spray. We had made noise. We had seen the bear and it had not come toward us. We walked another couple of minutes. The trail bent and dipped and bent again, and that is when the feeling started. You know how sometimes you sense someone walking behind you, even before you hear them? Your body picks up on something, a shift in sound, a difference in how you are watched. I kept glancing over my shoulder. Nothing at first. Then, maybe 30 meters back, something dark between the trees. I slowed. Luke nearly bumped into me. "What?" he asked. I did not answer. I started walking backward a few steps, eyes on the trees behind us. The shape came into view. same black body, head low, moving along the trail where we had just been, quiet as shadow. It was following us. This was different. The bear we had seen cross the trail, head up, walking across, that could have been a surprised animal going about its business. A bear behind you on the same trail, you in front, it behind, shortening the distance with each step, is not the same thing. "Luke," I said, "do not turn. Just look over your shoulder." He did. His jaw set. "How close?" he asked. "Maybe 30, 40 meters. It drifted in and out of the trees. Sometimes it left the trail, moving a little higher on the slope, then dropped back down. Always in our wake. Always there. No huffing, no jaw popping, no bluff charge. Just steady, quiet, focused movement. All the videos and pamphlets in my head started arguing with each other. Black bears are shy. Most will run. If a black bear is acting predatory, you fight back. Do not run. Running can trigger chase. Keep eye contact. Do not look away. "We cannot run," I said. "We cannot stand here," I said. We tried the obvious first. We stopped and turned to face the bear. I took my spray out of my vest. My fingers fumbled with the strap. The can felt heavy and small at the same time. "Hey, bear," I shouted, "get out of here." Luke raised his poles. The bear stopped. It looked at us, not surprised, just curious. Then it did something that would have scared me more if I had known how important it was. It turned its head and sniffed, not toward us, away from us. It stood still for a moment, just breathing. Then it took 3 slow steps off the trail, slightly uphill, and vanished into the brush. My heart slammed against my ribs. I felt a tiny rush of relief. "It is leaving," Luke said. But something did not feel right. Bears that want nothing to do with you do not usually move that way. They crash off. They make space. They hurry. This one moved like it had a plan and plenty of time. "Let's go," Luke said, "now, before it changes its mind." We started walking again. I kept my spray in my hand. We talked louder. Every few steps I looked back. I did not see it. Then the wind shifted. It was small, just enough that I felt the side of my face change temperature. The air now came more from behind and the right, from where the bear had gone. And then I heard it. A soft rhythm of weight on wet ground, from the trees above and slightly behind. Not close, but not far. The bear had not left. It had moved uphill and behind, into a better position. Predators do this. They circle to get your scent. They use cover. They test. It was working around us, still quiet. I stopped. "Luke," I said, "it is circling." He listened. His eyes widened. "Okay," he said. "We stay together. We keep moving, fast as I can." We did. My brain started to split in two. One part kept track of where my feet went. One part kept track of where the sounds came from. The bear stayed with us, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, never gone. I wanted to run so badly my muscles ached. Every piece of instinct said, "Run, get away, put distance between you and the thing that might eat you." That was the obvious choice, and it would have been the wrong one. If we had started running, with his bad ankle and my vest full of food smell, the bear might have committed. Running triggers chase in many animals. We would have turned ourselves into moving targets. Instead, we did something that surprised me even as I did it. I said, "We stop." Luke stared at me like I had lost my mind. "What?" "We stop," I said again. "Here, where we can see. We face it." There was a small opening in the trees to our left, a low knoll with fewer shrubs. Better sight lines. Not great, but better than the tunnel of brush ahead. I stepped off the trail onto the open patch. My legs shook. Luke followed, swearing under his breath. We stood side by side, slightly angled so we could both see the trail behind and the slope above. The sounds stopped for a moment. The forest went very quiet. Then the bear appeared. It came out on the trail, lower than us, maybe 35 meters away. It had dropped below, then climbed back up to meet us from behind. It stood there, head low, looking up at us. Its coat was soaked and dark. Water beaded on its nose. You could see the width of its shoulders. It was not huge, not one of those giant bears you see in photos, but it was big enough that you knew, in your bones, that you would not win in a straight fight. "Hey, bear," I called. My voice shook. "We see you. Get out of here." It did not move. It sniffed. Ears forward, then slightly to the side. Weight centered. Luke started yelling louder, cursing at it, waving his poles. I watched the bear's body. It did not flinch, did not back away. Its eyes moved between us and my chest, where the vest was, where the food smell was. I realized then that the noise was not working. We were not scaring it. We were just filling the air. "Luke," I said, "stop shouting." He looked at me like I was crazy again. "What?" "Just stop for a second," I said. "Listen." He fell silent. We both listened. The bear huffed once. Not a full explosive sound, more like a sharp exhale. Then it took a slow step forward. The world narrowed down to the distance between us. 30 meters. 28. I felt my thumb on the trigger of the spray. Everything in me wanted to start yelling again, to make myself big, to do something dramatic. Instead, for a couple of seconds, I did something that felt wrong and turned out to be right. I spoke in a normal voice, to the bear. "We are not prey," I said. "We see you. You do not want this fight." I kept my feet planted. Luke shifted behind me, but he stayed. That tiny bit of quiet did something I did not expect. It let the bear hear us, not just the noise. It let me hear it. I heard its breathing. Slow, not panicked, thinking. It did not charge. It did not bolt either. It took another step. Now we were around 25, 30 feet, right on the edge of the line where the spray might work. I remembered all the advice about wind. You do not want to spray too early and have it drift away. You do not want it blowing back in your own face. The wind was still coming from behind and right. If I aimed slightly low and ahead, the cloud might drift toward the bear, not us. "It is coming," Luke said quietly. I nodded. My mouth was dry. "Get behind me and a little to the side. If it comes past the spray, you hit it with the poles." That was the plan. Not great. Better than nothing. The bear took 2 more steps. Deliberate. Not fast. Not slow. Every time its front paw landed, I could hear the soft pad on wet ground. My hand tightened on the spray. The safety clip was already off. "Not yet," I whispered to myself. "Not yet." Another step. Now we were around 30 feet. I saw its eyes, dark and steady. They flicked to my hand, to the can, then back to my face. Its head lowered more. That was it. I aimed. Short burst, 1 to 2 seconds. Not a long spray, just enough to build a cloud in front of it. The sound was sharp in the quiet air. The orange mist rushed out and hung, then spread, caught by the slight crosswind. The bear walked into it. You could see the moment it hit. Its head jerked. It shook once, like a dog hit by a spray of hose. Then it spun sideways, swiping at its face with one paw. It did not scream. It did not roar. It made a rough choking noise, then turned and crashed into the brush on the downhill side. Branches snapped. Then nothing. The silence after was almost worse than the sound. "Oh my God," he said. "Oh my God." My hands shook so hard the spray can rattled. The pepper hung faintly in the air. I felt a bit in my throat and coughed. We stood there, listening. Nothing. I aimed the spray at the ground and took another short burst, just to make a small curtain between us and where it had gone. "Okay," I said, but my voice did not sound like mine. "We are going to back out, slow. Do not run. Do not turn your back." We stepped backward, one slow step at a time, keeping our eyes on the trees. My legs felt like wet rubber. Every crack of a twig made my heart jump. We reached the main trail again and started down. We did not see the bear again, but it did not mean it was gone. Bears can circle wide. They can shadow you without you knowing. They watch. They test. Luke's ankle was worse now. That short burst of adrenaline had let him forget it for a few minutes, but as we walked, his limp got more obvious. Every crack of a twig made my heart jump. We reached the main trail again and started down. We did not see the bear again, but it did not mean it was gone. Bears can circle wide. They can shadow you without you knowing. They watch. They test. Luke's ankle was worse now. That short burst of adrenaline had let him forget it for a few minutes, but as we walked, his limp got more obvious. He stumbled on a root and nearly fell. "We are not going to make it out before dark," I said. He grimaced. "I know," he said. "If we keep moving, we might." I did a quick check on our map and the time. We were still hours from the car at his speed. I felt that prickling at the back of my neck again, but this time it was not from the bear. It was from the realization that we were now in a different kind of trouble. We had just used our main defense tool. The bear might be out there, irritated and hurting, or it might have decided we were not worth the trouble. We did not know. We were two tired people, one injured, on a trail with a lot of fresh sign, with evening coming. "I think we call for help," I said. Luke hesitated. "I can walk," he said. "I know," I said. "Right now. But what if it swells more? What if we lose the trail in the dark? What if the bear is still around and we cannot see it next time?" He looked down the path. The mist, the trees, the same bushes we had just walked through, with a bear behind us. The pride in his face fought with the fear. Then he nodded. "Okay," he said, "you are right." I took my small satellite messenger out of the top of my vest. I had carried that device for years without touching the SOS button. It always felt dramatic to think about using it. Now it felt like a normal, careful choice. We stepped off the main trail into a small open patch with good sight lines and little cover. Not a meadow, just a wider spot between trees where we could see something coming before it was on top of us. We sat on our packs. I placed the messenger where I could see the tiny screen and pushed the cover back from the emergency button. "You sure?" Luke asked. I nodded. I pressed it. The device vibrated once, then started sending. We waited for the confirmation message. In the cold air, sitting still, I started to shiver. The drizzle had gone all day. My jacket was damp. Sweat cooled on my back. The bear spray smell clung to my hands, my jacket, the front of my vest. It stung my nose just a little. If the bear came back, that smell might help. Or it might not. I did not know. After a few long minutes, the device buzzed. A message blinked on the tiny screen. "Emergency center received. What is the nature of your emergency?" I typed with clumsy fingers. "Black bear encounter. Used bear spray. 1 ankle injury. On Elfin Lakes trail between Red Heather and parking lot. Cannot make it out before dark. Request rescue." It took a moment to send. Then another message came. "Help on the way. Stay where you are. Conserve battery. Local teams notified. Will check in." I felt a wash of relief and guilt at the same time. I thought of the volunteers who would come out, the time, the risk. Luke saw it on my face. "This is why they exist," he said quietly. "Better they walk us out than carry us out." We sat in that small clearing for more than an hour. Light faded from gray to deeper gray. The mist thickened, then thinned. Every so often, I thought I heard something in the trees, a soft step, a branch. Sometimes it was nothing. Sometimes it was a squirrel or a bird. Once, it was not nothing. I heard a crack from the direction we had come, low to the ground. We both froze. I picked up the spray. I only had maybe half a can left. We heard breathing, slow, heavier than a person's. A dark shape moved between the trees, perhaps 20 meters away at the edge of our vision. Another black bear could have come by. The same one could have circled back. I still do not know. It did not come closer. It stopped at the edge of the opening, just inside the trees. We could see its outline, but not its face. We did not yell this time. We did not throw things. We sat very still. I spoke in that same normal voice, low and steady. "We are over here," I said. "We see you. We are not food. You do not want trouble." The bear shifted its weight, sniffed. Then it turned and walked away, silent again, into the thicker brush. That was the moment when silence and slow retreat saved us more than any loud show would have. We did not turn ourselves into something to chase. We did not act like prey. By the time the first headlamp slid through the mist toward us, full night had fallen. We heard voices first. "Emma? Luke?" one called. "Here," I shouted, relief wide in my chest. 2 members of Squamish Search and Rescue stepped into the clearing, bright jackets, helmets, big packs. Behind them was a conservation officer in a green uniform and another SAR volunteer. They smelled like wet gear and energy bars. One rescuer checked Luke's ankle, wrapped it more securely, and gave him trekking poles better suited to his height. The conservation officer, a woman with tired eyes and calm hands, asked a few quick questions as we started walking out together. "Black bear?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Medium-sized, I guess. Pointed nose, all black." "Any cubs?" she asked. "Not that we saw," I said. She nodded. "Okay, we will talk more when we get down." They put Luke between them, one in front, one behind, moving at a slow, steady pace. Another walked ahead with me, asking small questions to keep my mind busy. As we moved down the trail, the officer's headlamp picked up fresh sign I had not seen in the fading light earlier. Tracks on top of boot prints, scat still glistening, stones turned over right next to where we had walked. The bear had been with us for a while. At the trailhead, the RCMP truck looked almost unreal, sitting in the dark like a piece of some other world. They put us in the back of a warm vehicle. Someone handed me a blanket. Another person gave Luke a bottle of water. That is how I ended up, later in that small office, sitting across from Conservation Officer Lena Markham, BC Conservation Officer Service, with a styrofoam cup between my cold hands. She flipped open a notebook. "Start from the beginning," she said. "Tell me what you remember." I told her everything. The chalk note, the fresh scat, the bear crossing the trail, the circling, the follow, the spray. She listened. She did not interrupt much. When I described the bear coming down the trail behind us, quiet, head low, always closing the distance just a little, she nodded slowly. "That fits with a predatory test," she said. "Not a defensive bear. No cubs, no carcass. It was curious, seeing if you might be something it could take." The words made my skin crawl, even though I already knew. "When you stopped in that more open spot and faced it, that was good," she said. "A lot of people try to just walk faster and faster. Sometimes they end up running. That is when these turn bad." I thought about the moment when every part of me had wanted to run. "That would have been a problem," she added, as if reading my mind. "Especially with his ankle." "What about the part where I told Luke to stop yelling?" I asked. "Should we have kept shouting?" She took a breath. "Noise is good to warn a bear that you are coming through," she said, "to avoid surprising it. When a bear already knows you are there and is still coming, the goal changes." "How?" I asked. "You want to show it that you see it. You are not easy. You are not prey. Yelling can help, but sometimes if you just scream at the top of your lungs, you stop being able to read the bear, and it stops being able to read you. Speaking in a calm, firm voice like you did, especially with someone who is not panicking next to you, can help both sides think for a second. I thought about those seconds. How wrong they had felt. How right they had been. "And the spray?" I asked. She smiled a little. "That was textbook," she said. "You waited until it was close enough. You aimed low. Short burst. You respected the wind. That cloud is what changed its mind. Bears do not like surprises in their eyes." "What about later?" I asked. "When we were sitting and one came near and we just talked and stayed still?" She nodded. "Good too," she said. "After a spray incident, that animal might be more nervous, or another bear might wander through. Either way, running out of a small clearing into thick brush in the dark is a bad plan. You stayed put. You let it decide to move away." She closed the notebook. "You both did a lot right," she said. "You made some mistakes earlier in the day, starting late, food smell on your chest, spray not where you could reach it fast. But when it counted, you stayed together. You read the bear, and you used the tools you had. That is why you are sitting here instead of in a much worse place." I thought about the small choices. My spray in the wrong pocket. The snack wrapper under my chin. The late start. The moment at Red Heather when I felt that pinch in my gut and ignored it. And then the other small choices. Stepping into the open instead of speeding up in the tunnel of trees. Not running. Not lying down and pretending to be dead because something in me remembered that you never play dead with a black bear that is acting like this. Stepping toward it, not away, when it closed to that 30-foot line. That was the one that still kept me up at night. Lena must have seen something on my face. "You know what saves most people in these situations?" she asked. "Bear spray," I said. "Preparation helps," she said. "Spray, noise, all that. But honestly, it is often the one small choice where they do not do the easy, instinctive thing. They do the slower, harder thing. They stay, they watch, they think for an extra 5 seconds. 5 seconds. We were two normal people on a normal day hike in Garibaldi, near Squamish. It was cool and wet and full of berries. A black bear decided to see what we were. We made some bad choices and some good ones. The bad ones were the easy ones. Late start. Weeks later, back in the city, I caught myself in the grocery store standing in front of the camping aisle, looking at the shelf of bear spray cans. I picked one up and read the tiny print again. Range up to 10 meters. Use short bursts. Aim low. I thought of wind on my face, of dark eyes watching me, of Lena's voice saying, "You are not prey." Now, when friends ask about that day and want the short version, they expect some big movie story. They want to hear about a heroic sprint or a last-second rescue helicopter. What I tell them instead is this. We were two normal people on a normal day hike in Garibaldi, near Squamish. It was cool and wet and full of berries. A black bear decided to see what we were. We made some bad choices and some good ones. The bad ones were the easy ones. Late start. Food smell where it did not belong. Spray buried in a pocket. Pushing on a little farther into better bear country because we wanted the lakes. The good choices were slower and did not feel brave. Turning back before we reached our goal. Stopping in a place where we could see. Not running, even when everything in our bodies screamed at us to run. Stepping toward the bear enough to hold a line instead of backing blindly away. Using the spray when it was close, not wasting it too early or waiting until it was on top of us. Staying put and calling for help when pride told us we could limp out on our own. If you ever feel watched on a trail like that, if the hair on your neck lifts and you start turning more than you should, listen to that. Look for sign. tracks, turned stones, fresh scat. Remember the wind on your cheek. Ask yourself who is downwind and who is moving quiet. That day, my life did not hinge on one huge moment. It hung on a string of small choices stacked on top of each other, until one black bear on a misty slope above Squamish decided I was not an easy meal after all and walked back into its own dark world. I still hike. I still go back to places with chalk notes and warning signs and berry-filled slopes. The difference now is simple. My spray rides on my hip, my food smell stays sealed, and when the wind shifts on my face, I pay attention, and I give myself those extra 5 seconds to think before I move. And if a black bear starts acting like we did that day, following, circling, closing the distance no matter how loud you sing, know this: you do not run. You do not turn yourself into prey. You stand. You speak. You show it you are not worth the trouble. And if you have spray, you use it like it is meant to be used. Short, calm, and at the right time. That day, my life did not hinge on one huge moment. It hung on a string of small choices stacked on top of each other, until one black bear on a misty slope above Squamish decided I was not an easy meal after all, and walked back into its own dark world. I still hike. I still go back to places with chalk notes and warning signs and berry-filled slopes. The difference now is simple. My spray rides on my hip. My food smell stays sealed. And when the wind shifts on my face, I pay attention, and I give myself those extra 5 seconds to think before I move.